By the end of this video, you will better understand what's going on in Warren Buffett's head and why he's making the moves he's making with his portfolio. How's it going, world? Michael EJ here, helping you reach your financial goals and dreams by becoming the best investor you can be. If you're new to the channel, what's up? Mainly talk about building wealth through the stock market, and my mantra is you gotta think differently than the market to beat the market. So if you really want to think differently than the market, think differently than any other YouTubers or any other financial advice, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and let's get started. So if you've been with me since the very beginning, like the very first videos I was putting up, where I was using PowerPoint, you will see that I might have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Warren Buffett. I mean, he is a phenomenal investor. I mean, what can you say? He's the Oracle of Omaha, man. The king of value investing, or at least the perceived king. I like to think of him more as a quality value investor, focusing more on quality, focusing more on minimizing risk. And there's a difference in how you view value investing. I'll put that in the card so you can kind of understand my thoughts on value investing. But kind of want to talk about things that are going on in his portfolio. And this is something I want to kind of do with other big investors. Just understand what's going on, what's their thought process, by just looking at the moves they're making inside their portfolio. And Warren made two major moves. One of them being adding more of Apple to his portfolio, adding more there. So I kind of want to understand, after analyzing the company on my own, what is he seeing? Knowing that he's a long-term investor, he's going to hold for a couple of years, and that actually the margin of safety for Buffett with a lot of his picks aren't really there. It's a hidden reason. Pay close attention. Now, first off, I think Buffett gets it. He's a big guy on brands, mainly brands, when he says moats, competitive advantages, mainly talking about brands. And with Apple, their brand has been elevated more and more over the years, mainly by the price of their iPhones. That's kind of the mark. How much does the iPhone cost? And now it's leading to some conspicuous consumption, as economic theory explains it, or peacocking, essentially. You buy something so you can be recognized, so you can be noticed, and it kind of says something about yourself. It's similar to Starbucks coffee, or shopping at Whole Foods, or having a luxury car. You're elevating yourself through your consumption. And that thought process hit my mind. I was just at the movie theaters watching Black Panther, so you know, Wakanda forever. and just before the movie was about to come on, you know, still not even the previews, we got there early, and somebody's phone went off. And for like 10, 12 people started going through their pockets. They're all near me. And you notice how they all got the same ringtone. These iPhone users, they don't change their ringtones. They want you to know, hey, I got an iPhone. I am not trying to stick out. I'm trying to let you know I have an iPhone. Same tone. And somebody pulled out their phone, well noticed, got up, got on the phone, and started walking out. Like, we know who you are. Okay, we know what you're trying to do. You're kind of peacocking. And that's kind of what Apple has turned themselves into. More of a luxury brand. It's a different tilt on them. Now, something else that's really interesting is the business risk of Apple is decreasing because the revenue mix is changing over time, and it's going to continue to change. So for a while, and I think this is partly why they trade at like a 17 times earnings, Apple is viewed as having some sneaky hidden risk, mainly because they're thought of as just an iPhone company. They depend on one product. Depend on re-releasing that same product, continue to add technology, continue to add new things, really for one product. Because at one point in time, the iPhone was like 80, 85% of all their sales. Like, it was ridiculous. I mean, it's good that it took off, but none of their other products kept up. Now, that is coming down. Now it's like 65, 60% range. And that's because their services and digital content is increasing, mainly through Apple Music. Apple Music is kind of the main thing that's kind of increasing through, and some other products they sell, like Beats headphones and the assorts. These things are increasing, becoming more and more a chunk of the business. So that perceived business risk that used to be there with Apple, it's not going to be there in the next 3 to 5 years. it's going to look like more of a balanced company, not depending on one product to save them. And this is what I meant by the margin safety isn't there for Buffett like it used to be. This company's fairly valued. Apple is fairly valued, man. It's not a lot of growth there. I mean, and it's a huge company. I mean, when you're closing in on $1 trillion, you're kind of big. I mean, how much more can you really grow, right? Nobody's ever hit $1 trillion before. This company is one of the few that can maybe make it happen, but right now, they're fairly valued. Buffett instead is betting on the expected rate of return, which is what makes it a good long-term investment. See, remember the return drivers, you got shareholder yield, earnings growth, change in the multiple. This company just rewards shareholders like none other. I mean, they pay a consistently good dividend on top of buying more shares back so they can continue to have flexibility. So they've done this in the past. They've shown a history of doing this. It looks like they're going to continue to do this. And the growth, they're growing maybe along with the rest of the market in terms of EPS growth. So you're getting that additional return with just growing with the rest of the market. And it's not like their multiples are going to change that much. It can't really go down. It can't really go down that much further. If anything, it might more likely to go up. Once the market starts to recognize these changes further into the future, it might go up to 20, 25 times earnings, where it probably should be if you're looking to invest in this company for the long term. So that's what I think Buffett is seeing with Apple. Very intriguing company, very intriguing opportunity. And to be honest, a lot of upside down the road if things work out. Now, the other name I would like to talk about with Warren Buffett's portfolio is Teva Pharmaceuticals, ticker TEVA. Kind of interesting that he's going to go after a healthcare name. I mean, he's done it so in the past vaguely, but you got to look really back, like 90s even. I mean, to really just pay attention to what he's done with his portfolio in that matter, in this space. And I think one reason he's doing this is that he's fighting or working against the grain when it comes to the cognitive ease bias. There's always behavioral things going on in the markets. And we have some behavioral biases ourselves. As investors, I know I do, you do as well. And one of the big ones is this cognitive ease bias, which is we like to analyze things that are easy to analyze. We don't like looking at sticky, murky companies that take a lot of effort to analyze and figure out. And that's what's going on here with Teva. And this happens all the time. This is for one reason people just don't mess with financials. Just don't value banks. Why? It takes too much knowledge. It takes too much knowledge, takes too much understanding. You see this with conglomerates, holding companies. That's why both of those types of companies, both financials and these huge conglomerates, usually trade at a discount lower than expected because there's so much going on. There's so much going on, and it's like a complicated discount, you know? And Teva has a lot going on with them too. If you look at their financial statements, kind of jacked up. I mean, it looks like a merger gone terribly wrong. And you know, it doesn't look good. Let me just say that, it doesn't look good. Now, what makes things interesting though is that once you start making those adjustments to the financial statements, you start moving some things around and you just clean those things up, you realize there's actually an opportunity here. You know, Buffett isn't wrong picking up this company, buying Teva Pharmaceuticals, especially if things go right with the restructuring plan. Essentially, Buffett's betting on management. He's betting on management to turn things around. Now, for just color, Teva Pharmaceuticals, they're really big in the generic space. That's their bread and butter. That's how they usually make their money. Make it in the generic space, making generic drugs. But if you actually look at the financials and look at the company business model, it doesn't match up. It doesn't match up that well. When you're because they're in the generic space, they're mainly competing on price. That's the main reason to have generics. You compete on price. When you're in the generic space, you need to focus on production advantages. You need to focus on being as efficient in producing things as possible. I mean, I made a video a long time ago about the importance of a return on invested capital. And I'll put that up in the card. It was part of a Shark Tank type of video I was doing. But it is very important. Are you focused on consumer advantages or production advantages? If it's consumer advantages, you're focusing on margin. If it's production advantages, and what they're focusing on, I mean, you're in generics, you can't really separate. You need to focus on production. That focus hasn't been there. That focus just hasn't been there. This is a perfect company for like a McKinsey or somebody to go and work with, because they get focused on the wrong things. I think management, and I think Buffett thinks management is going to turn things around. And once that turnaround happens, once they focus more on being more efficient with production, and maybe they do have a specialty product side, maybe they build that up, who knows? But either way, once they get that focus going and get back to a decent return on invested capital, the free cash flow is going to come. That's the bet. The free cash flow is going to come with this company. They're fairly valued now, but it could be a good long-term investment if management comes through making the necessary changes. You can see them through the financial statements, and they start to reward shareholders more with their free cash flow, because they've done so in the past. They've done so in the past. When they have the cash, they're going to give it to shareholders, either through buybacks or dividends. They've done so in the past, and Buffett is essentially making the bet that if things can turn around a few years from now, they'll continue to do it in the future. And that's what I have for you all today. Guys, you always need to keep up and understand the thought process of the best investors of the world. Warren Buffett's probably number one on that list, but there's other investors out there that you just need to understand what their thinking is, their logic, why they buy this company, why they buy that company, and it will also help you become a better investor. Michael EJ here, helping you reach your financial goals and dreams by helping you become the best investor you can be. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace.